I'm glad you're here visiting with me. I'm Amanda. I think most of you already know who I am. If you're here, you probably are already on my email list or you already follow me on YouTube. And I've never done a live on YouTube, which is crazy. So we're gonna try something new today and see how this goes. I think there are so many people out there who want to connect about this industry and learn more about becoming a flight nanny for pets. And I've been having a lot of one-on-one conversations with people. So I thought this might be a little bit more efficient to just see in real time what your questions are. Hi, Tori. Thanks so much for saying hi and that you're here, letting me know that you're here. I really appreciate it. Annette, so nice to see you. Oh, and thank you so much for the kind words. Yeah, really, really nice to actually connect with people. That is one of the weird things about YouTube, right? It feels a little bit one-sided. You create these videos for people and just kind of share your life, and you don't always get to connect with the people on the other side. So live is kind of a nice way to do that. Hi, Alex, so good to see you. I'm really glad you're here. This is just informal conversation. Really just kind of wanting to share what I know about being a flight nanny and offering encouragement and education to other people who might be interested in this. I also think there are a lot of misconceptions about this industry, right? And about what it's like to do this for a living. And so I just want to clear up some of those misconceptions here and give you facts and show you places where you can go to get more information. And if interested, I offer training and mentorship to help take you to the next level. But before we get to that point, I'll just do a really quick intro. I know most of you here already know who I am. I'm Amanda. I'm a professional flight nanny. I travel with pets for a living. I travel all over the world, just helping pets get from one place to another. Absolutely love it. And it was a total accident to get into this business. I started this during the pandemic. This was my pandemic pivot. And I just started doing ground transport locally. I was living in Ohio at the time, and found a website online that had some just like freelance opportunities where people were bidding on, they were listing their needs and people were just bidding on the opportunity to earn their service. And so I just got on there, got my first few jobs, and just fell in love with it, just doing ground transport. And after doing that for a while, you slowly learn more about the industry and you learn about the flight nanny side of things. And when you take that first flight with a pet and you realize like A to B how it's done, something clicks in your brain and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm addicted. This is such a dopamine hit. And it really is the most satisfying experience to like deliver a new pet to somebody, or to reunite a pet with their owners, or to help somebody move and just know the kind of relief that you've provided them. So I tell people I get to give joy and get joy every single day that I do this type of work. And it's just very, very fulfilling. But yeah, I've been doing this 5 years now, and it just keeps growing and evolving, and I keep learning new things and trying new things and figuring out where I fit in the industry. This industry is huge, if you didn't know. I mean, if you start to Google, pet transportation in general, you're probably going to be amazed at all the options that you have out there. I mean, people move all over the country, and there are these huge organizations that, ship pets. There are people who do ground transport, there's rescue transport, and there's people like me who kind of start independently and create their own thing and find their own niche. And so if I were to give you any kind of encouragement here, it's that, there is a space for you. You can find your own niche. Whether that is through your own personal community, whether it's through mentorship, whether it's through online sites, there are lots of ways to figure out like where your community is. But that being said, this is a highly competitive industry. It's real competitive. A lot of people want to do this type of work. I mean, all of you are here. I've talked to over 200 people on one-on-one conversations from all walks of life. Some of them are newly retired, and they're looking for a satisfying way to spend their retirement and to give back and to, make a little cash on the side maybe. There are people who are, just graduating school and looking for something to transition, into career life. There are people like me who just did not want to do 9 to 5, who just couldn't do corporate life. and just have, done little things here and there until something finally stuck. That's kind of how I ended up here. I was a gig worker for a long, long time. Long, long time. I've done all those grocery apps. I did like Uber Eats. I did all the like merchandising that you could do on apps. And I did all of this on the side because I was working in the theater industry. And if you know anything about the arts, it's not always consistent what work is going to come to you. So I do my theater work and then I do this gig things on the side. And that was fine for a long time. But then when COVID happened, the whole world changed. And like I had no more theater work and I had to find something else. And I honestly thought pet transportation was just going to be my gig until theater opened again. But I was so wrong. So wrong on so many levels. And I made so many mistakes, you guys. So many mistakes. And that's why I like to educate people now. Because I feel like if you have all of the information you need about this industry from the very, very beginning, and you have a realistic perspective about what it's like to be in this industry, you're going to be able to know right away, is this for you? Is this something you want to invest your time and energy in? And how do you move forward? And how do you do that protects pets and protects yourself? All right, great. So, all right, that's my fluffy bit. So glad you're here. I see your comments down there. I'm gonna try to, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat and I'll try and get back to them. I'm gonna talk for a bit, give you information because I know that's why you're here, because you wanna get started. So I wanna give you information and then I'll answer questions and we'll kind of go back and forth a little bit, okay? John, if you're new here, I'm Amanda. I am a flight nanny for pets. I help pets move all over the world. And most of the time, they're flying with me inside the cabin of the plane as a carry-on. Okay? So we're finding ways for small pets to move safely across the country. And I get messages from people every day wanting more information about how to get started in this industry. So I want to offer some free information, some free resources to help people succeed in this industry. And I'm here to answer your questions in real time. All right. So I think some of the biggest misconceptions about this industry, and we've kind of touched on those a little bit, is that this is not really gig work, right? So you can't just open an app and look for a pet delivery, okay? And it can be deceiving at first because there are a lot of apps online. I can give you those. If you hang around to the end, this is going to be about 30-45 minutes. If you can hang around to the end, I'm going to give you some resources, okay? Some actual legit resources where you can find jobs, all right? But you have to hang in with me. All right, so this is not a gig because there's so much liability in this type of work. So we're dealing with live animals, right? We are dealing with live creatures that have very specific needs. And so you want to make sure that you know how to care for the animals that are in your care, and that legally you know everything that is being required of you by law. So being a pet transporter and being paid to do it is actually governed by the USDA, all right, and the Animal Welfare Act. So everything that we do is kind of built with that structure in mind. Whatever the guidelines of the USDA and the Animal Welfare Act give us, that's kind of what we use as a basis for pet care in this industry, and also how we set up our businesses. All right, so before we go too far down there, when it comes to doing this as a business, I think that is also one of the biggest misconceptions about this industry, is that you really do need to set yourself up like a business. And believe me, I was not a business person before I started this. I had no idea how to run a business, how to market a business, how to do finances like a business, how to take payments like a business, right? I had just been a gig worker for so long, I knew how to do that kind of thing. And I had to learn through this business. And it's because there's so many liabilities, you want to make sure that you're set up business-wise to protect yourself. So business insurance and making sure you're taking payments in a way that's secure for you and also secure for your clients. We have clients that are paying really good money for these types of services, right? So we want to make sure, we're able to take credit card payments for one. And in order to take credit card payments, you really need to have an LLC. And so that's not something you have to do right away when you get into this industry, but as you are starting to grow and get really consistent and you got a lot of clients, you want to be able to take credit card payments because it's a lot more secure than things like Zelle and Venmo and things like that. They're fine in the beginning, but it's not really safe. There are so many scammers in this industry that you really have to find a way to stand out, to be professional, to create social proof, and to build trust with an audience so that people will hire you to do this type of job. And I say that because I think a lot of people get into this industry thinking, oh, I can just find a job with a business to become a flight nanny. Have you found one? Right? I'm sure you've been Googling out there. You guys can tell me in the comments. Is this conversation for the animals? Well, we got a lot of wild animals in the comment section here, so yes. Carrie, yes, I like the vibes in here too. So let me tell you, have you been Googling for a job as a pet transporter or as a flight nanny? And what are you finding? If you've been searching for a job, can you just put a 1 in the comment for me? Yes, okay, great, great, great. So Tori is on it here. Tori says the jobs are few and far between and most are not hiring. You're absolutely right. Most of the time, if you go out there looking for a job as a pet transporter or a flight nanny, you're probably not going to find many opportunities out there. And there are a lot of reasons for that. Mostly, I mean, as a business owner, I know this for a fact. I am not hiring, but I do have a team of independent contractors. All right. Here's the thing. Here's how it works in this industry. Most people get started as a sole proprietor and they kind of build their own brand, their own business, right? Because the people who are hiring you, who you are transporting their pets across the country, they want to know you. They want to know your experience with pets, with pet care. They want to know, what your service looks like, right? What you are offering. So hiding behind a brand, another person's brand, isn't going to help you long term. Now, there are ways to find mentorship, right? Mentorship through other companies and other businesses, if you can find it. It's few and far between. When I first started, I begged for a mentor, right? My first year in, I started to realize, okay, I've really got something going here. I'm making steady income, right? But I know there's a lot I need to learn and I just don't have the experience yet. So I started looking on Facebook groups. There are a ton of pet transport Facebook groups out there, right? And you start to see some of the same names come up over and over again on these Facebook groups. And you start to trust those people. You can see they've been working for years. They're well respected in the industry. They have great positive reviews from customers on their Facebook page. So you tend to trust them as another pet transporter. And I would reach out to them and ask for mentorship. And it didn't go well. No one wanted to share their secrets about this industry, right? And I think that sums up what my experience was like in the beginning. No one really wanted to share their secrets. They wanted you to do your own work to get started. They did not want to share their customers with you. And I think it's still a lot like that out there. I think that's so icky and gross. I hate that. I hate that. That's why I'm here. Because I hate that. Because I think our industry in general and pet transportation would be so much safer if more people would share. All right, so that's what I'm here to do. I want to make sure you know the basics so that you can protect animals and protect yourself, and find a way to do this long term. But here's the thing, you got to promise me, okay? We got to make a deal here. This is not gig work, right? You can do this part-time if you want to. You can do this as a retired person. You can do this as a person, who's, just graduating school. You can do this as a person who is already a pet sitter or a dog groomer or as a breeder. There are so many people who can integrate this type of service into their life, but it requires full-time investment, okay? There's a lot to learn about pet care, and some of that comes through research. Sometimes it comes through experience. Sometimes it comes just through, finding a mentor who can tell you those things. But it is so important to your health and safety and to the safety of these pets that's not really approached casually. And I think that's the biggest mistake when I got started. I really thought this could be a gig, and it required all of my attention to find clients, honestly, in the beginning. Finding clients was a full-time job, and there are so many ways you can find clients. Do you guys want to talk about how to find clients? Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, okay? Because I think this is one of the biggest things that people don't like to talk about in the industry. And it's because it's nuanced, right? There are so many different ways that you can find clients, and every flight nanny you talk to, I'm going to focus mostly on flight nanny side of stuff today. I do ground transportation as well, but there are other people who can talk to you about ground transport. What I do really well is flight nanny type of stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. So where are places you can find clients, right? So let's say you haven't decided yet if you're actually going to make a business or you're going to be a sole proprietor. It doesn't matter. You just kind of want to step in to see if this is for you. Okay. So there are some ways you can do that. I recommend Facebook. Okay. It's free. Facebook's free, and you can join some of the pet transport Facebook groups. All right. And you can start to look around and just look, right? You are not advertising service yet. You are just looking. You are observing what customers are asking for, and you are seeing how other pet transporters respond to their inquiry. Now, no one in these Facebook groups is going to advertise their prices publicly. That's something we usually do in private messages because Facebook doesn't really like talking dollar signs, okay? But Facebook is a free way to gain experience by watching others. And you'll start to see, just like I did, you'll start to see some of the same names pop up. You can follow other pet transport companies just to see how they set up their business, how they advertise, and maybe get an idea about, the kind of services that they're offering. So that's a free way to start. If you get real serious and you think, okay, I'm confident enough now to start offering services, you can create a free Facebook page. Right? It's free. It's a great way to get positive reviews when you do actually get a customer. And that's where you can start to advertise your type of services and what you're offering. So that is one way to find customers. And we'll probably circle back to this here in a minute. But I think the other way, the better way, most people who get started in the pet transportation industry in general, okay, they already have an into the pet industry in somehow, right? So maybe they're a breeder, right? They have puppies that need to travel, so they themselves start to become a flight nanny or a pet transporter, or they're working with a partner that also has puppies, and then they trade off being flight nanny for each other. That's how some people get started. Or you're friends with a breeder. So one of the gals that I mentor, she's actually a real estate agent, but she is a guardian for her breeder's female dog. So, she owns this dog, but she has puppies for this breeder. And there was an opportunity. The breeder says, we just sold a puppy across the country. Do you want to fly with this puppy? And she said, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. She did this for her friend, the breeder. And then after that, they decided, we want to offer this more consistently. So this real estate agent found me and decided to enroll in my mentorship, and I was able to help her find a way to strategize this relationship and turn it into a profitable business that she's not only offering for that breeder, but that she can offer to other people as well. But that was her into the industry because she already had a client that could offer her opportunities. And so for her, it felt like a safe investment to invest her time and energy into doing this work because she knew she already had a customer, right? There's some people who are really involved in show dogs, right? And into agility. And so they really get inside of the show dog community. There are a ton of clubs, dog clubs, locally and nationally. And if you get plugged into the right people in those groups, those type of people will keep you very, very busy traveling with their animals all over the world. Right? So that's another way to get in. So you kind of have to figure out what is your current circle, your current social circle, and how can you use that to find opportunity. Start with friends and family who already trust you and knows you, right? That is key, trusting you. This is all about trust. This business is entirely about trust, right? How can I convince somebody to let me travel with their fur baby all across the country, right? How can they trust me that I'm going to do what I say, that I'm going to show up on time, that I'm going to deliver their pet safely, right? And no one wants to be taken advantage of, right? There are so many scammers in this industry. So we just have to find a way to build trust. So if you can find a place where you already have trust and use that as a way to start your business, that's really ideal. If you don't have that, I didn't have that, honestly. I didn't have that getting started. I just had to jump in and find my way. And I think what worked for me is that I started to share my story online. So this is not for everybody, right? Not everybody wants to put their face online. Not everybody is great with social media. But for me, I got on YouTube and just said, I started this business and I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm having fun and here's what I'm learning. And because I was authentic and I was willing to show myself online, I think that builds trust in a way because it gives people know that I'm real. Right? And if I show up to pick up their pet, they can match that with the image that's online and they know I'm not a scammer. So that helps, right? So finding a way to build trust, okay? All right, so let's go down here in the comments. What other questions do you guys have for me? Only on Facebook. Forget a new partner. What about Twitter? I think they're the same. I don't know much about Twitter, Robin. I apologize. I'm not really on Twitter, so I don't know that one very well. But again, there are so many ways to find clients and to put yourself out there. This is just one of them. I'm going to give you some more resources. If you hang on for another 10 or 15 minutes at the end of our conversation, I'll have some resources for you where we can get some more information about that. Okay, how do you know what to charge? Terry, I think that's an amazing question. And I think it's like one of the number one questions that I have from people just like you who are interested in this work. So, and here's a complicated answer, and you're probably not gonna like this a whole lot. Maybe it'll encourage you though, so we'll see. You get to charge whatever you want, okay? So that's the beauty of owning your own business, right? You get to charge what your time and energy is worth. And you kind of weigh that between, okay, what are my competitors charging? Right? How do I stay competitive? How do I make a living that is comfortable for me? And my prices change all the time, depending on the season, the time of year, depending on the complexity of the project, depending on how tired I am. And realizing when you get to a point where you realize that you do have the power to kind of control those prices yourself, and you're not afraid to hear no, then something can change inside of you that is really empowering. So, but numbers, let's give you some hard and fast numbers, because I know that is what everyone wants to know. You know, Tori, I think what you're asking, what is reasonable, right? So yeah, so just to understand this here. So the way that my business runs, I'm purchasing my airfare. I'm purchasing all my airfare, all of my expenses, and I am charging my customer a fee that covers all of my expenses and my time. And so I think people generally understand that, right? It's just basic math. It's like, here's the airfare, here are the pet fees. If I have to get a hotel, I'm charging for that. If I have to park, if I have to get an Uber, I'm charging for that. So time, right? That's the number one question people have, is how much should I charge for my time? And only you know that answer, okay? Every flight nanny I talk to gives a different answer about this, but my recommendation to you is that it's never under $300, okay? If I'm gonna give you a really hard and fast number. And that's for a couple of reasons, but just remember this is pre-tax, right? And you still have some general business expenses that you're probably going to need to cover, like the cost of pet carriers and your supplies, and maybe you've got a subscription to some sort of online marketplace that's going to help you find jobs, right? You got to categorize all of that in there too. So a third of that goes to taxes, you know, maybe a third goes to miscellaneous supplies and business expenses, and that $100 is all you gain for your hard work that day. So that is the bare minimum getting started. You know, I charge all sorts of ways. Again, just depending on the complexity of the project. Domestic flights, it could be $500, $600 per delivery. But here's the thing. The way that my business is set up, I am not generally flying from my home base, delivering a puppy, coming right back, and then my day is done, my delivery's done. So that would be ideal and basic, but life is not that easy. By the way, I live in Dallas. I just moved here in November. I grew up here and lived all these other places for like 20 years and finally came back. Where do all of you live? So I know, give me some examples so that I can use them in my examples here. Yeah, great. Okay. Georgetown, great. Okay. Do you give itemized receipts? So yeah, so I tend to be more full service. So instead of itemizing, my entire service, I'm basically saying, here is my price. This covers all expenses and my time. And here are some things I can offer you to add value to your service. So here's one thing everyone should know too, competitively, that and Tori says it's easy. Yeah, that's the thing. It is easy. Once you get over Michigan, awesome, Terry, nice to see you from Michigan. Once you get over that mental hurdle of feeling like you're charging too much or charging too little, then you're ready, okay? Because you are going to get 1,000 no's before you get a yes. On average, I would say I get 50 no's before I get one customer to book me. So it's really a numbers game. It's about where can I find more no's until I can get to my yes. On my website, I have a place where people can go to book a request, to make a quote request for service. And let's say in a month, I get 100 requests. That's pretty average for me, 100 requests. Only 15 or 20 of those actually become my clients, right? So the other 80 either ghost me or say no thank you, right? So you have to get to a point where you're really comfortable hearing no. And I tell you what, those 15 or 20 people keep me busy full time. That's all I need. That's all I need. And I have extra jobs that I give to my independent contractors, right? So 15 or 20 is very reasonable to do this full time. I'm sorry, I'm gonna apologize now. I am all over the place because I'm getting excited. So you'll have to forgive me if I skip over something you want to hear. Tell me in the comments and I'll circle back. But yeah, I tell people if you get to a point where you're doing one job per week, you are doing really well. All right. Yeah, Tori's excited too. If you're doing one job a week, you're doing really well. If you're doing 3 a week, I would consider that full time, because many of our jobs take more than one day, right? So if I'm based in Dallas, right? If I am flying to California to pick up a pet, picking up that pet in California, delivering that pet to Boston, by the time I get to Boston, it's going to be like 10 p.m. There's no way to get out of there. So I'm staying overnight and I have to return to Dallas the next morning or on to my next trip. So yeah. And because of the way flights and flight delays work, right? If, you got to set up a little bit of buffer time just in case a flight is delayed or canceled so it doesn't domino the rest of your week. Now, I say that, but I still make this mistake where I book too many clients in a row. I do this all the time and I make it work. But because here's the thing too. I have a very flexible lifestyle, right? I don't have kids. I don't have pets of my own. And so I am not in a rush to get back home. And so I think it's not a requirement to do this job, but it definitely makes it easier if you are a bit of a free agent, right? It allows me to basically create, a 10-day or 12-day route where I'm basically just hopping airport to airport and then I come home for like 4 or 5 days to rest. It doesn't always work out exactly like that, but you get the idea. I'm gone, a good part of a week before coming back home. Now that I'm in Dallas, it's a little bit easier to come home because Dallas is so central and most flights go through Dallas anyway. So it's a little easier for me to come home in between trips. But because I do ground transportation as well, I'm usually driving for 5 days, picking up a couple puppies by air for 2 or 3 days, and then I go home. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Terry. Yeah, so Terry, here's the thing. If you were here at the beginning, we talked about like there aren't many companies out there that are hiring. And and that is because this is high liability type industry, right? So we want to empower you to be your own boss, and then we can work together. Maybe I can offer you some opportunities as an independent contractor, but there are some things that are required to do that. So, I definitely recommend, that you are approaching this with a business mindset, that you have a really flexible lifestyle, and that you are in this for the long haul, right? So I train and I mentor people who are ready to make this their next career. All right. So here are some ways that I help people. I like to offer free opportunities like this, where we can just have a live conversation. I can answer some of your questions and help you figure out if this lifestyle is meant for you. Because I think like I said, I've had 200 one-on-one conversations with people about becoming a flight nanny, and only 20 of those people have become part of my mentorship program. And I think it's because they realize that there's a lot more to this than they originally thought. It's not like you can just be on someone's list to do a job every now and then. It really requires some commitment and really doing your homework about the skill set involved in this and the pet care requirements. And so I really want to give you the resources to help you figure out if it's right for you. And if it is, then there are some training and mentorship opportunities that I can offer. And I'll make sure, if you want to make sure you're on my email list first. So if you're not already, that's where you're going to find the most information. I have a mentorship program that is all about giving you the skills and the skill set you need to get started. So the legal requirements, what does the USDA say that we need? What does the Animal Welfare Act say that we need to fly with pets? There are some legal basics, like we need health certificates whenever we fly with someone else's pets to another state, right? That is a requirement of our service, and that's set by the Animal Welfare Act, right? And another one is like pets have to be 8 weeks old in order for them to travel with us state to state, right? So if you want to know what all of those legal basics are, I have some free resources for you. So you can get a free video that's all about the Blue Book, the Animal Welfare Law Basics. The Animal Welfare Law is like a 300-page document of laws, and it's really hard to navigate on your own. It's a lot of legal speak. So I've tried to narrow it down to the things that I think are just applicable to someone who wants to become a flight nanny or a pet transporter in general, right? But those legal basics are, what creates the outlines for our business. The other thing is understanding the airline, policies, right? So if we're flying on commercial planes, understanding what is the pet policy for American Airlines, how much is a pet fee, where can I sit on the plane, things like that. And those things are easy for you to research now and learn and understand, so that when you have a potential client, you know how to match that client with the right service. So some airlines have weight limit policies, some don't. Some have size restrictions and they enforce them. Some have size restrictions and they don't enforce them. And you only know that through experience and through learning from other people in this industry, right? Yeah. So in our mentorship program, here's how it breaks down. So we've got about like 5 hours of video content online where it answers all these basic questions. What are the legal basics? Do I need an LLC? Do I need insurance, right? How do I find clients? How do I price my services, right? It answers all those basic questions. What are the airline pet policies? Have you guys actually traveled with a pet on a plane? Tell me. If you have traveled with a pet on a plane, say yes. If not, say no. Just let me know in the comments. I just kind of want to know where we are here. Do you have actual hands-on experience flying with a pet on a plane? Okay? Because some people come to me wanting to do this job and they've actually never gone through those steps before, and it's no problem. I can teach people. I can teach anybody. Great. Okay, this is great to know. It's not difficult to teach you, but I think there is a bit of a confidence that happens after you actually have experience, right? You are trying to offer a service to somebody, but you don't actually have any experience doing that thing, right? So how are you going to market this service if you don't have experience doing it? That is the next step. That's what I try to offer people. So Through this training program, I also have a video that takes you step by step from pickup at the airport to checking in, to paying our pet fees, to going through security, how to do a safe potty break with a pet, right? Because we don't want to put new puppies on the ground in public, right? How do we do that safely, right? What seat do I choose on a plane? Are there rules and restrictions about that? How do I deliver to my client at the airport? And what do I do afterwards to protect myself, to protect the pet, and to make this a really joyful and beautiful day, right? So inside our training portal, there's a whole video that just walks you through an entire day of being with the pet. And we also talk about, I do this on a lot of my YouTube videos too, just like supplies that I use, and, choosing the right pet carrier is like one of the most important things that you can do as a flight nanny on your trip. And how are you prepared for emergencies and accidents and things like that, right? So there are just a lot of little steps to learn how to do this. And once you go through the online portal, there are opportunities to actually take a fly along with me. That's through my mentorship program. So you go through the online training, right? You set yourself up, as a business or as a sole proprietor. And then when you're really ready to take the next step, we go on a flight together. And that's where everything that you have learned in your brain is actually going to get to go into your body. Like, you're actually going to do it, right? So we go on this flight together. You get to travel with me with a dog or a cat, and experience that delivery, and ask any additional questions you might have about this business and how it works. And actually having hands-on experience can really help you understand what you know and what you don't know, and how you want to take the next steps, right? And then after that, after you've done the online training, after we've gone on a fly along together, then I'd love to use you as an independent contractor. And that's kind of how this works, right? Once we meet in person, once I know you're ready, then there's a possibility of offering you some independent contractor opportunities, right? And that is a great way for you to get some social proof. It can be really hard to find jobs as a pet transporter or a flight nanny when you're just getting started, because no one knows who you are, right? So having those independent contractor opportunities can help you get some social proof, maybe some positive reviews, and give you some confidence so that you know how to market to your next potential client, right? So those are kind of the things I'm offering. That is the full mentorship program, but we also have a flight nanny mini course too, which is just the basics, right? It's just a do-it-yourself version where I can answer a lot of these questions for you in more detail, We did talk before, and I mentioned, oh, hi, Terry. I'm so sorry. Did we talk already? That's crazy. Yeah. So anyway, there are some resources that I want to make sure you have, that you understand what the industry is like before you get too far in, right? So if you're on my email list, I'm going to be revamping some things soon, but there's some free resources where you can sign up for your USDA registration, which is free to do, but it's what you need to be legal in the US, right? USDA registration, and you register as a Class H intermediate handler, okay? And I have a free video for you all about how you fill out that application. And again, it's free. It'll take you 2 minutes to do, right? And once you get your official registration number, then you can legally travel with pets in the US, all right? And your name is on a database. It's really just there just in case of emergency, right? Just in case there's an animal welfare complaint, right? And then the other free video that I offer you guys is the laws and regulations, everything you need to know about traveling with pets in the US to help keep our pets safe and to help you stay legally compliant on a business level too. So those are 2 free videos that are offered. My mentorship program is called Flight Nanny Pro. And these 2 videos are free in the Flight Nanny Pro training program because I think everybody should know about them in order to get started. And then the rest, I can send you links if you're signed up for the email list, or you know what, there's only a few of you in this live right now. If you email me after this and just say live, you don't even have to say anything else. If you just say live, I'm going to send you direct links to some resources, to training programs, just to help you take the next step if you're really, really interested in doing this. But I mostly just wanted to come here, give you some basics, give you some inspiration, get you excited about this, and hopefully answer some questions. So, Tori, if you go onto my website, thanks for that question, that way, because I remember to tell everybody. If you go to my website, scroll all the way down, there's going to be a word that says jobs. If you click on that, right, it's going to take you to a web page all about how to become a flight nanny. And on there, you're going to see a thing that says sign up for the email list, right? And the emails that are going to come to you, they come about every week. I've set those up over a year ago, so I apologize if they're outdated. I'm going to try and update those here in the next week or so, but it's still going to give you a lot of information that you need to get started, right? If you email me right after this meeting, or right now even, Amanda@purplepup.net, you can just email me and just say live. I will send you links to some direct resources to help you take the next step. All right. Great. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you being here and for commenting and just taking part in the conversation. I'm always looking to, collaborate with other people in this industry, right? I just want everyone to know I take it seriously, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I pinch myself. Like, I absolutely love what I do, but I do take it seriously, and so I'm really picky about who I work with, and that's why I have, live Zoom meetings with people to get to know you and figure out who you are, what your goals are, and then I try to match you with the resources that make sense to you and where you are. Yeah. All right, great. Well, I could babble forever. If there are no more questions, I'll slowly zoom out of here. Alex, you're such a trooper. Alex is a flight nanny as well. She does great. We met years and years ago. Yeah, absolutely. So good to see you all. I don't know how often I'll do these lives here on YouTube. It's weird. It's hard to talk one-sided like this. I will confess, but I want to try something new. I need to revive my YouTube channel. I have not uploaded videos in so long. I'm trying to get back on a schedule again, like once a week. It's really hard. Editing videos is another full-time job, so. All right. Well, if you think of any other questions, again, there's only a handful of you in here, just send me an email and I'll do what I can to help you, okay? I want to do what's right for pets. I want this to be safe for them. I want to make sure you have all the right information you need to do this well, to do it right from the very, very beginning. So, yeah, you're very welcome, guys. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for taking part in the conversation, and see you again.